in a completely unrelated series of events, John, those rivers are already filled with bodies. I wouldn't be surprised if a few more end up in them.
I built this thing from the bottom, they tore it down, I rebuilt it. I give myself a task, you can bet your ass I fulfill it. Yeah, man, I'm talking about Willis, one of the realest.
What's up, guys? Compound Coalition here at Self-Reliance Festival. I'm here with TJ, a.k.a. Bear from the internet. Got some shit to say?
Sure.
Might as well start.
Thanks for having me. What an interesting world we live in.
It is.
Yeah. Are you feeling it?
More than ever, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
How is that manifesting itself for you? Like, what are you doing about it?
That's a good question, right? Because content-wise, everybody wants to talk about the negative, and I believe it. Like, you won't find a conspiracy theory that I don't believe. Like, you could probably convince me of some that are completely impossible. But at the same time, I have to rein myself back and go, hey, we have these things that we can do. How can we, what's the positive out of this? How much of this would we know? Because most people are compartmentalized from it, right?
Yep.
So are we better off taking that energy and that time and that effort and putting it into creating something, right? Every prepper, I always say there's two kinds of preppers, right? There's the prepper that is so busy prepping and staying away from people that they live in poverty.
Yep.
And then you have preppers that have so much money that they can live in a fully prepared lifestyle with all the luxury and not even know if the power went out.
Mm-hmm.
So which one do we want to be? And I always say, if you believe this, would you be better off in any of these circumstances if you had more money? Because more money buys you more option, it buys you more time, it buys you more labor, more ability, right? You just can have a better draw. And I think the answer is always start some kind of business, do something, right? As terrible as all the shit going on in the world is, the only reason we know it is because of the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wouldn't even know if it wasn't for the phone.
Yeah. So I was just talking with a brother about this the other day. So the human brain is not designed to have this many inputs of information, right? These Babylonian rectangles of death. Bro, we do not understand the long-term effects of this. We're beginning to get some studies that are coming out, blue light affects sleep and kids and attention deficit disorder, all this other stuff. Are you familiar with Dunbar's number?
I've heard it.
Okay, so Dunbar was an anthropologist. I think that's the word I'm looking for. A dude who studies people. And he came up with this concept that villages organize around the number of about 150 people. And in those villages, there'd be up to about 10 family clans, if you will. And each one of those clans would have 12 to 15 people in it. So you were immediately accountable to and aware of 12 to 15 people. And then we had these groups, these family clans that would make up this tribe. 10 to maybe 12 of them that would cap out at about 150 people. And the other 149 people in your village or your band of hunter-gatherers or your whatever, you know them. You know that they're safe, right? Or safe enough. They're one of us. But you don't know every detail of their life, nor do you need to. Hey, man, we're going to go hunt a buffalo. You in? Okay, you're in. Awesome. We're leaving at dawn tomorrow. All right, let's go. Or whatever. And the children, you would know, like, your dad is Jim, but I don't know this kid's name. I don't care what his third grade spelling homework is. Right. He feels like a girl today. I don't care. It's not pertinent. And so there was a lot less information management in that 150 people. And so now today, if you just look at how many people somebody's following, which is an interesting phrase.
Who we don't even know.
Right. Who we don't even
Who
know.
you're never even going to breathe with.
Right. Where this shit actually matters because we can coordinate, we can do stuff together, we can mutually support one another in good times and in bad times. You can lift me up when I'm having a bad day. I can lift you up when you're having a bad day. That's the stuff that matters. What Pastor Joe calls the meat world, MEAT. Right? If you can't reach out and touch somebody.
War within arm's reach.
Exactly. And so... but we have all these people that we follow on the internet. We're being inundated with all this information. And it doesn't serve us, it doesn't actually help us because it contributes to the fear and anxiety. It rarely contributes to motivate people to action. And then even then, motivation is bullshit. And I don't say that about people like Pastor Joe, who motivates people. But most people, motivational speakers,
Right, they need discipline, not motivation.
Exactly. My job is not to make you feel good about yourself.
I heard you say a long time ago, and I've adapted that, nobody's been pressure tested. We don't know if those pipes will hold. We don't even know if they're glued together because they've never operated under any pressure or turmoil.
Exactly. And so we need to, I say do the things all the time, right? Because right now, things are freaking screwy out there. And there's all this information coming in that can't be vetted. Unreliable sources, including the mainstream media, nobody knows, right? And so the intelligence picture of what's happening just in eastern Tennessee, western North Carolina with this Hurricane Helene is fluid, dynamic. It changes by the moment. And just because one person over here says this is happening right here doesn't mean the same thing's happening over here. Oh, they're confiscating resources here. Maybe. That's an isolated incident. What happened here doesn't necessarily represent all of FEMA's response, even though I hate FEMA's guts.
Or 2 streets over.
Right? But because there's a lack of communication, in this case actually, and then generally as a population we don't communicate anymore, there's no way to corroborate what's happening between 2 or more points. And so you end up in this little bubble of intelligence over here where this is your worldview. And it's actually not true, right? And it's so... Meat world, I can see it, I can observe it, I can validate it, versus all these other streams of information that are coming in, which is why I brought up Dunbar's number, because there's so many people following other people out there. Is this person even worth following? Do they have a life that you want?
Have you heard there's another storm coming?
I have.
It's not being reported in U.S. media. It's being reported in European media and Mexican.
What storm track is it forecasted to be on?
Well, it could do the same thing, right?
Yep.
It shouldn't, as the first one should not have.
Yep.
It's like a remote control.
Yep.
But absolutely insane.
I know. And we have a lot of resources and a lot of assets in eastern Tennessee right now. We're doing cross-border operations in the North Carolina, we being Grindstone Ministries. Grindstone is authorized by the governor of Tennessee. So we're direct from the governor's office at the state level and down. We are nationally registered as a 501c3, and we're on FEMA's list of approved entities, but I don't work with FEMA. I don't want to work with FEMA. And so we previously have coexisted in the same battle space. FEMA will go over here and do FEMA stuff. We'll go over here and actually get stuff done. We stay out of each other's way. Right now, North Carolina, as of the time of this recording, there's not a federally declared state of emergency in North Carolina. And there's a lot of back and forth about whether or not there should be, because it looks like intel picture on the ground, which is, again, is very shaky. It looks like there's a concerted effort to make a land grab in western North Carolina right now. So because we're approved at the state level with Tennessee through TEMA, Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, we're running cross-border ops into North Carolina because we can't get a base of operations established in North Carolina because FEMA's not, now they've put a perimeter up, aren't letting anybody in. And in the really amazing, odd life that I lead, we have people from all types of units and agencies that would very much so prefer that their name isn't said on camera, showing up with assets. We have a lot of private assets showing up. We have aerial assets. We have riverine operations about to be established. We're about to bring barges in because just in Washington County, Tennessee, where we're fobbed up at through Grindstone, we've lost 5 of our 8 bridges. And so you can see over there where you want to go, and what should be a 4-minute drive is now an hour to an hour and a half to go around and find another avenue in. The issue with that is all of the bridges that existed beforehand were rated to a 40-ton load rating, 80,000 pounds, before the storm. Initially, 4 were taken out, and we just lost a 5th one yesterday. It collapsed. Even though it looked like it was okay, it collapsed due to damage. So the 3 remaining bridges that allegedly have an 80,000 pound weight rating, we need big, heavy equipment, I can't roll a D6 dozer that weighs 58,000 pounds across that thing because it's probably going to end up in the river. So we got to bring in barges so I can move heavy equipment from one side of the river to the other. Before you bring in barges, I got to clear the river out. So we need jet boats because there's all kinds of debris in there, including bodies that nobody's talking about. The official death toll is 213 as of this morning. There's over 1,000 people missing in each of the 3 counties in eastern Tennessee.
I heard they have 3 refrigerator trucks stacked full.
That's
right
not
now.
a rumor.
Yeah.
That's a fact. And so it's a really weird stuff going on, which kind of circles back to what are you doing? Those people that are being affected by this storm, they don't have access to social media. They don't need access to social media. They're enduring. They're doing it. Water filtration, food stores, meds, medical, backup generation, and neighbors. And to the extent that they don't have those things, we're literally flying in with 60s and sling loading it to them because there's so many isolated remote communities to get it to them. They could have, in some cases, they could have left but didn't. They chose to stay, and now they're in this situation. But not everybody has been impacted the same by this storm because some people had some stuff put back and knew their neighbors, and some people didn't. And the people that didn't, a lot of them, and there's a lot of out-of-state looters as well, but a lot of locals have turned to looting, and there's a lot of out-of-state looters literally showing up with box trucks, getting into gunfights with locals to take the shit out of the houses that are unoccupied now. It's a really weird picture.
And with no commo, you don't know to even be prepared for that.
Well, that's why we're literally trying to get a hold of Elon Musk. I've got an inside person working on this because pallets of Starlinks are either being seized or turned around by FEMA. That's actual. That's not rumor that I saw on the news. That's my guys on the ground telling me that that's actually happening. So that's legitimate. So we want those loads to come to the Tennessee side where we're fully authorized. And then I will establish a fucking Ho Chi Minh trail of Starlinks if I have to get them in there, because without commo, there's no logistics. Without logistics, there's no relief, there's no rescue, and there's no intel. And that's why are they trying to make a blackout situation in western North Carolina with no intel?
Why are they? Give me 2 options.
Yeah. One is they don't have the money to do anything about it.
Because
right?
because they spend it everywhere else.
Right. And so that's one of the things, my Orcus has been talking about. Hey, we're broke. It's like, dude, Federal Emergency Management Agency, not federal come across our southern porous border and be enabled agency.
But FEMA doesn't ever fucking do anything anyway. Like, we don't need FEMA to do it. Just step aside.
Well, 100%. And so a lot of people will, lambaste FEMA. FEMA should do something. FEMA's job is not to do something. What FEMA does is they hold the purse strings. And they'll come in and they'll assess the situation. They'll determine a valuation to the damage. That's 1. And then they'll determine a cost to clean it up. That's 2. That second number, the cost to clean it up, that's where the federal checkbook comes out. And then FEMA entices disaster contractors with the checkbook to come in and do the work. Excuse me. Amanda just made me a cup of tea earlier, and now all the drippy things are happening. Yeah, it's working, which is good. Thank you, Amanda. So we don't work with FEMA. We don't take any of that money because I don't want to be beholden to FEMA or to anybody else. I don't want them to direct our work. That's why we're privately supported. But the way FEMA operates anyways, they bring the checkbook out and they entice people to come and pay disaster contractors to clean the mess up. But they don't actually do any work. Well, they're broke. And so, or at least they allege that they're broke, and I believe that they are. So on the one hand, maybe they just simply don't actually have the resources, in which case, get out of the way and let the people that do have the resources go to work, which we've already been doing. We never asked them for their permission to be there. I'm never going to ask them in the future for their permission to be there. We just show up and do what we do. So get out of the way.
Usually before they show up.
Oh, 100%. FEMA has inherited us on every site we've ever been on. If FEMA shows up, it's usually 2 to 4 weeks after we've been there. We're already there. We're already getting shit done. And for anybody that's affected by this listening, you do not have to leave your wrecked structure standing until the insurance adjuster looks at it. You take pictures and video, document it, and then knock it down because it's a health hazard, structural hazard. If your roof has been fully compromised and it's going to rain again, congratulations, you got a black mold factory. Things got to come down. And so in a lot of these regions, there won't be an insurance adjuster there for 6 months. Anyway, that's a sidebar. So On the one hand, they don't actually have the money to do anything about it. On the other hand, there's critical infrastructure to the defense of the United States of America located in that area. And it sure as shit feels like there's a federal level land grab going on. And that's why I brought up intel analysts earlier. We're blessed that we have some of the best intel analysts in the world that our taxpayer dollars used to employ to go hunt bad guys all around the globe. Mm-hmm. And they're now part of the Grindstone Volunteer Deployment Force. And on the tactical level, it's easy. There's a need over there. We have resources over here. Move the resources to the need. On the operational level, how long are we going to be here for? Shit, boss, this is a long one. Probably 90 days plus. Everybody dig in. We're going to be here a while. Here's what we need for long-term sustainment for the FOB. Here's where we need to grow to. We need to establish other sites out here. We need to support this entity, and this entity. We need to avoid these entities, go zones, no-go zones, reestablish this infrastructure, etc. Relatively easy for us because this is our 46th deployment. Just get an intel snapshot, start prioritizing and executing. On the strategic level, none of this makes any sense. The Tennessee response has been excellent. There's a lot of people who are saying, TEMA's taking resources and they're relocating resources. It's bad intel. TEMA is working hand in hand with Grindstone. Our executive director is advising and counseling with TEMA literally every day. He's at the EOC, Emergency Operations Center, every day. Do this, don't do that. Oh, they're confiscating resources from the school. No, school's opening back up in 2 weeks. We can't have school if the whole school is full of resources. So what they're doing is they're consolidating resources at one large resource distribution site, which is Bristol Motor Speedway. And then we have TEMA and Grindstone personnel there who are meeting the needs with the resources and then dispatching out from there rather than having all these disparate sources everywhere. Well, TEMA's going to take it. They're not going to use it in this community where it needs help. That's actually not happening. And to the extent that it is, it's again, you're in an intel bubble right here, right here. And what you're not seeing is all the other stuff that's going on around you. And then that's being widely reported and circulated on social media that TEMA's confiscating resources. No, they're not. They're consolidating resources. Two very different things. TEMA, to the extent this is their first rodeo, it's not our first rodeo. Now, the scope of this is unprecedented for the nation and for us. And so we're playing catch up too. Nobody has ever done this before, us included. But TEMA, to the extent that they can, they're doing a good job. You go across that river, it's a completely different situation. They are actively, they being the governmental entities, state, some state, and federal, are actively working against relief and recovery efforts in some places.
No local?
There's been handfuls of local blowhards.
I'd like to see how those guys vote.
Yeah, well, in a completely unrelated series of events, John, those rivers are already filled with bodies. I wouldn't be surprised if a few more end up in them. Just facts. People have had enough. There was legitimate reporting that came out 48 hours ago of a FEMA official, so federal official, that was telling locals that resources couldn't be brought into their community and being an arrogant prick about it. And so they beat the shit out of him and then did it anyway. We've been told from Pete Booty Dude, at the federal level, you're not allowed to fly any aerial assets in the declared disaster zone.
I saw a video guy this morning too. I believe they're military personnel, had a civilian pilot helicopter, and he said that they were, trying to ground people. He said, we're not grounding. He said they actually pulled out a 6-year-old baby.
Yep.
That had just been born.
Yeah.
And brought them down, yeah.
Yeah, and that is normal life right now at our FOB. We have currently 2 60s, MH60s. We have 5 more inbound. We're working on 47s and 53s.
Live baby, by the way. Live baby.
Yeah, live baby.
Born,
yeah. And we've been pulling kids out, pulling grandmas out, pulling hurt people out, moving supplies into those that are stranded. And a lot of people are stranded in isolated communities and they're not leaving, because if they leave, then the looters will get their shit, or the local government will say that they abandoned their property, eminent domain them, and then flip that over to the federal government. And so they're staying.
Sounds like they're doing it anyways.
Bro, we are in an asymmetric, protracted war against the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and that's not hyperbole. And it's being, on the one side, this war of resources and personnel and intelligence is being fought by civilians who, a lot of which were prior service, all of which are patriots and are trying to love their neighbor as themselves, being reported on by social media, which is why they want to censor us, and crowdfunded through YouTube, GoFundMe, Give, Send, Go, and donations at grindstoneministries.com. That's completely asymmetric. And frankly, to the extent that we're involved, to the extent that Grindstone is involved, we're winning. We don't even see FEMA. And so what they're trying to do is establish a perimeter and keep people out. Cool, I can see it, I can fly to it, we're up, let's go. That's why we're spinning up riverine ops. It's just a strip of water. I can see it, it's right there, let's go. The bridge is out, cool, get me barges. I'll put a D6 on this side, push a launch in on this side of the river with a D6, roll the barge up to the launch, pull over to the other side, walk the D6 off, push a launch on the other side, and ferry me back and forth. And I don't have to clear the whole river, I just got to clear right here.
Section, yeah.
So, and it's, dude, I'm a YouTuber from Oklahoma, and that's what's really amazingly, wonderfully odd about this thing. And to everybody who's listening, I think a lot of people are waiting for permission to go do good shit. The fact that you exist is evidence from the creator of the universe that you are permitted to go do good shit. All you got to do is look in the mirror, and there's your authorization papers. Go do good shit. If a nobody dude from Oklahoma who still needs to lose another 40 pounds easily, right? I'm old, I'm fat, I'm not a cool guy, never been there, never done that, can hop in a truck and drive halfway across the country to go serve people in need, and then have all these other entities swarm around me and come in support of the mission, which is love your neighbor as yourself, forsake not the widow and the orphan. What are you waiting for? Go do good shit and start where you're at first. Bloom where you've been planted, in your house with your family, and then your neighbors, and then your community, and then your county, and then your state, and then nationally. Everybody wants to make America great again. Well, that doesn't start with America. It starts with you. You make you great again, and then you will not tolerate the bullshit. And when they try and push this federal level bullshit and state level bullshit through, the answer is no. We got to stand up, Bear. When are we going to do something about it? When are you going to do something about it? You can't win a fight with a box of fucking donuts and you're going to go fight the federal government. No, you're not. And they'll smoke your ass. But what we tolerate, they will embrace. And we have tolerated too much shit for too long. And so if you're waiting for permission to go do awesome things, go do awesome things. You don't require permission. And the ramifications, they're non-existent. This is a paper tiger. Hey, you can't fly those helicopters or you'll be arrested. Yeah, cool. Tell that to my 87 friends. You're not arresting anybody.
Yeah, from everything I've heard, what little we've seen of it, that's actually video of it, the guys turning people around, they don't have any guns.
Yeah.
There's not army dudes there.
Yep. And what if there were? You were violating my constitutional rights, which you swore an oath to protect and uphold against all enemies, foreign and domestic. There are people who are hurting on the other side of this cordon, and I'm going in. My question is, are you going with me, or am I going through you? Pick. Simple as that. That's why they want all these men weak and gay, because they won't stand up to authority, and they won't realize that the authority in many cases is a paper tiger. This whole thing is a house of cards. All you got to do is just blow on it. It's going to fall right over anyway. And it is falling over now in front of us. And I think that's maybe one of the net benefits of this situation. This is being played out on the world stage. People are seeing this, and not near as much as they should. The national news coverage has been abysmal. No surprise there. It's hard to get good reporting. It's even harder to get intelligence reports that are accurate. But it's getting out there. People know this is happening. Us having this conversation, Wrangler Star's talking about it, Jared at Guns and Gadgets, Johnny B, Mr. Guns and Gear, my channel, right? People are starting to catch on that something is not right here. Like definitively at the strategic level, something is not right here. and we're winning. Good. And we're going to keep winning. And all it takes is more people to not tolerate the bullshit and get involved, whether it's with us or anybody else. Just get a group of neighbors together, go do something good. And that, back around to what are you doing about it? You got to know your neighbors. You got to be strong where you are so you can bring that strength to other places. If you're not strong where you are, right? If you need something and I don't have it, I can't give it to you, right? Well, if that thing is strength, if I'm weak and you need strength, I can't give it to you. If it's peace and I'm not peaceful, I can't bring that to you. If it's wisdom and I'm not wise, I can't bring that to you, right? So I got to work on me first before I can help you. We're commanded to love our neighbor as ourselves. But you have to be capable of loving your neighbor as yourself. So there's an implied task there of being capable to go love people. And love is not just thoughts and prayers. Those are important, but you have to go do. If you were in the shit right now, and I was like, love you, bro, I'll pray for you, and I didn't show up, and you didn't punch me in the face the next time you saw me, I'd be really disappointed. Right? And we need more of those relationships with people. That's part of why they want us isolated. So we don't form those relationships, because you realize pretty quick, a half a dozen dudes can outmaneuver the federal government. For real. Both, deploying resources, having an impact. 2 pickup trucks are doing a better job in many, many areas than the Federal Emergency Management Agency, with no budget, privately funded, led by the Spirit, to go love their neighbor as herself. That's why they want us fighting with each other. That's why they want us distracted. That's why they poison us with the food, and they poison our brains with all this bullshit social media. And that's why they tax you to death, and that's why they allow inflation to be what it is, so that you can't amass a bastion of strength in yourself and in your own home to go be a blessing to somebody else, which therefore de facto requires the federal government's involvement, and they suck shit at it anyway, and people die because of it.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. It's all division. Blacks aren't supposed to like whites. We're supposed to be scared of the black guys. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. They don't. It's not my tax money. They're taking our tax money and going to Ukraine. No, they didn't send your money. It doesn't go into a bank account. It sits there and they send it. That's money they created. Yep. They take your money away so that you can't have the capability. And back to this thing, right? The turmoil and the fear, right? If you were fearful all the time and you were always on that fight or flight, you cannot be restful, and you cannot operate at the level that you're capable of operating mentally.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if we can get you fat and we can get your estrogen high, you're not going to have any will to work out.
Yep. Get you hooked on our meds.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I think that's what there is to say about that matter, brother.
All right.
Appreciate you.
We'll do another one.
100%.
Love you.
Love you too, brother.
I built